a Sanskrit mantra which is recited before we begin anything auspicious. I'm sure most people understand English. So, if you have any doubt, you can stop me and ask, okay? So, I need to start with this because the ultimate aim of human life is that every single creature in the universe enjoys the joy of cosmic wealth. So, this mantra is about that. So, first I will chant it, then in a nutshell I will give you the name. You don't have to go aloud, and please, you don't have to remember it. Okay. If you can, it's good, but you don't have to. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Which means, you know Shanti, last. Om Shanti Shanti. May there be peace, may there be peace, may there be peace. Now the beginning of the mantra, which was recited when the teacher and the taught. Sometimes it reverses, the teacher and the taught also. So when the teacher and the taught sit together, this is chanted, which means, may both of us be protected. You and I. May you and I be protected. Sahana Vavatu. Protected from what? Protected from distraction. Protected from going on the wrong path. Protected from leading a violent life. Protected from not creating problems for oneself and for others, and so on. You know, protected from. Also, here we are quite protected, but in the forest they also said protected from the wild beasts. And so on. Here it's okay. Basically, it means protected from distracting thoughts which take us away from the center. Sahana Bhunaktu. Next. Means, may we be, you and I, be nourished. Nourishment is very important. Physical nourishment, mental nourishment, psychic nourishment, and soul nourishment. In the ancient Indian teachings, we not only ancient Indian teachings, also in the Sufi teachings, also in the Kabbalic teachings, also in the Pistis Sophia, there are different grades, different layers of which form us, which form the human being. Physical, mental, psychological, and finally the soul. So may all this be nourished. Because if you don't nourish, if there is no food, you know, if you don't eat food for 10 days, you cannot even think physically. In the same way, if you don't give mental nourishment, the mind becomes weak and collapses. Soul nourishment we can't discuss now, we'll go to it later. So, may we be nourished. Saha viryam karavavai. May our virya, our energies, increase. People don't think that the spiritual path is something where you have to be weak and not be able to walk. You need energy. Virya is necessary. So that's why it's good to start young, when there's enough fuel in the car. If fuel is over, where will we drive? So, may our energies increase. Tejasvi now. And when the energy increases, there is an increase of illumining light in everybody. Tejas, the glow of the spiritual energies which have been gathered together and which have not been distracted. May that increase. And the last, very interesting statement. I'm pulling this. Ma vidvisha bhai. Let's not fight with each other. Maybe not quarrel with each other. Because a discussion and a dialogue are different from an argument. When there is an argument, you think you are right and I think I am right. There is no solution. But when there is an understanding that you and I are together going to look at a problem, then what happens? Then there is understanding. So an argument is a quarrel, a discussion, a dialogue, which in Sanskrit is called a samvad. Is we both sitting together and looking at the problem, trying to solve it. I don't, even if I know the solution, I don't pretend to know. I say, let's look at it together. That way, the solution becomes your solution, not my solution. Right? If I say, this is the solution, it might be my solution. But when you find out, it's your solution. So this is the mantra, and another one which is chanted is Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. This is beautiful. May all creatures and living beings on this earth be happy. Loka samasta sukhina, may the whole world be happy. So with this we start. Hoping that this will happen at some point. When you look at the world sometimes, one wonders when it is going to happen. But I believe that we have to change first. We can't change the world till we change. The change has to come from inside. So we are here to find out, if you haven't changed, how to change. Maybe you have, I don't know. If we haven't, how do we change? How do we expand? How do we move from this small little circle of being only about myself and expand? Am I only this body? Am I only confined to this limited mind? When I think, can I only think with my puny little brain? Or is there something else in me, a wider dimension? This is what we will examine in this retreat, and I am hoping at the end of the retreat, at least we will have some idea about this. Small idea is enough, but it can do wonders. Small drops make the ocean. So this is the aim of the satsang. When I say satsang, first let me apologize for sitting like a stupid doll in a chair, and all of you are sitting beautifully with crossed legs. Unfortunately, just before I came, I've had a surgery of a hernia, which is caused by myself, nobody's fault. And the doctors have advised me not to sit cross-legged for 2 months, which is a terrible thing to tell me, because my whole life is cross-legged. First thing I do in the morning when I wake up is to sit cross-legged. And the last thing I do before I go to sleep is to sit cross-legged. I have been denied that now. And I follow doctor's advice very strictly, just as I followed my master Babaji's advice very strictly. He was like a doctor, he was curing me of this certain disease. Many of us have the disease. The disease of thinking that we are isolated, small, puny individuals and everybody is different. When that is removed, there is only one. There is no many. All are one. In fact, the word alone is made of all one. Unity. So anyway, so I apologize for sitting like in this funny shaking. The other is, today, since the starting day, we might limit the satsang to a shorter period of time because of this problem here. From tomorrow onwards, I promise to make it a little longer as much as we can. And as the satsang proceeds, at the end of it, I would like you to definitely interact with me. If one doesn't interact, then one cannot move on this path. Since ancient times, if you look at the ancient, the student went to the teacher, and the teacher did not lecture to him and say, go. He talked to him and then he said, now you ask me, what's your problem? What's your question? So the whole of the teachings have been dialogues. We have a beautiful scripture called the Bhagavad Gita in India. Believe me, because it comes from India, don't think that it is only for India. It's a universal scripture. The setting, the scene has been India, but that doesn't mean anything. Because the sacred books of Egypt were written in Egypt, it doesn't mean that it's only for Egypt, right? It's for all. And in the Bhagavad Gita, it's a beautiful dialogue between two friends. One of them is, of course, divinity manifest. The other is divinity not yet manifest. Two friends. And they're like friends, also brother-in-laws. Also the teacher is acting as a chauffeur for the student, Krishna and Arjuna. Like two good friends. Of course, in the end Arjuna realizes, oh my God, this is not just an ordinary friend. That doesn't end. But it begins like that. And he asks plenty questions. Not to disturb him, but because he's so serious about it. Like, there is a chapter called Dhyana Yoga, 5th chapter, which talks about meditation. So at the end of it, Krishna, the teacher, says to Arjuna, who is the student, listen, make your mind so quiet and calm and tranquil, like a lamp that is lit when there is no wind, steady flame. So Arjuna says, look, it's okay, all you're saying about the wind not blowing and the lamp and flame and so forth, it's not easy. It's easier to stop the wind than to stop my mind. It's stronger than the wind. So if you say stop it like a flame without air, what am I supposed to do? Can you please explain? So it goes like that. It's a dialogue, healthy dialogue. Not each trying to prove that I'm right or you're right. So as we proceed, we can also have dialogue. Of course, questions never end. Because we answer 10 questions, we get another 11 back. But when you figure out that questions are part of the movement of the mind, and when everything is still, then there is nothing to ask. That is something that has to happen, not something which can be imposed on anybody. Now since the notice says satsang, I want to start with the meaning of the word satsang. Satsang, like all Sanskrit words, is made of two verbs. One is Sat and the other is Sang. I think this is simple, right? Sat, Sang. Now Sat means that which is true. When I say true, which means that which always is, unlike that which is here now and gone tomorrow. I'm sitting here now. 15 or 16 years later, I think, roughly, I won't be here. So, I'm not permanent. Same in this world, nothing is permanent. You can put up big statues, but what happens in the end? Birds shit on their heads, nothing happens. And it's the same with anything. It's here today, it's gone tomorrow. There's nothing permanent. And happiness, I think I'm happy with this. 2 days later, I think I'm happy with that. Then finally I decide I'm not happy with anything. So it goes on and on, life goes on and on. And there is nothing so permanent, which is what life is all about, it's not permanent. We are saying that in the midst of all this movement, all this circle, there is some element, an essence, which is permanent, which is always there. It never was, and it is never not going to be. Always. It is this that the spiritual seeker is looking for. You know, how does life go on? Because we seek happiness. If we got happiness from one action, then we wouldn't do anything else. Finished. But no. I go, then I find, no, this is not enough. I'm not happy. Then I do something. This is life. So here, this is what we seek. What do we seek? Happiness which does not change. But we try to seek it outside, in the outside world. We don't find it, till finally we rest in peace. Please, I am not painting a bleak picture of life. Life is wonderful. It's lovely. Beautiful flowers, lovely mountains, snow on the top, good people. It's nice. The problem starts when I want it for myself only and not for others. Yeah, it's beautiful to see beautiful flowers. The moment I say I need to pluck it and put it in the pocket, the problem starts. I love cars, but that doesn't mean I want to possess the car. It's nice to see a pretty lady driving a Porsche. I don't want it. You get what I mean? So you can enjoy life and not get caught. If you can eliminate this, that I want it only for myself, this can break only through spiritual experience. So it is that reality which is permanent and which is not temporary, which is here today and gone tomorrow, which is called Sat, meaning truth. And it has no religion, it has no gender, it has no political affiliation. It is there for all, each and every one of us. So we seek that. So how do we find it? So then we have a Sangha, Satsanga. Sangha means a group of like-minded people sitting together, coming together and trying to investigate into this truth. Then it becomes a satsanga. If you are here today, there must be something in your life, something in your mind which says, I need to go beyond. I need to look into this matter, otherwise you will be here. There are so many people who are quite okay with skiing. Skiing is nice, I'm not saying you should be skiing, but that's not the be-all and end-all of existence. I also skied once, fell down and got a good injury on my right knee. Anyway, so there we are. So this is the satsang. So why I explain this is because next 2 days, tomorrow, we're going to discuss some topics which hopefully will lead us to the truth. And we will not confine ourselves to any one stream, but look at different streams and how they flow and merge into the ocean. Some people think that there is only one way to the spiritual fulfillment. We believe that there are as many ways to spiritual fulfillment as there are a number of people. It cannot be the same. There must be different ways because we are all made different. Somebody may be a Christian, somebody may be a Hindu. That's our background. So then you approach it that way. Finally, when you reach the goal, you say, it's the same. But if I tell you, no, you should become a Hindu first, or you must become a Muslim first, then you will find the truth. Then it doesn't work. Right? So we are going to look at it together and try to move forward one step at a time. Can't also take too many steps. When I was a young boy, I was wandering in the Himalayas, and on the way I went to a near the hills, a monastery where there was a sadhu. Well, I was so hungry, but food wouldn't be served till the entire ritual of puja was over. So I had to wait for 2 hours. It was very elaborate. Anyway, at the end of it, we got food. I got food. And then after the food, I saw this man was very orthodox. He had a line here and lines here and so on and many. But he was a good man. We can never find out a person by external appearance. He may be simple or he may look complicated, it doesn't matter. Heart is important. The man was very nice. He said, "You are a young man, so what are you planning to do?" I said, "Look, I have come all the way from my home. I have given up. I have burnt my bridges. And I am here and I am going towards spiritual understanding, looking for somebody to guide me." This was before I met Babaji, on the way to Badrinath. Somebody told me recently she went to Badrinath and went to the cave where I met Baba. Tomorrow I'll tell you a little story about Babaji. Tomorrow. Because we always have to keep something for tomorrow, right? So, what did I say just now?
The puja.
After puja, this person was very nice.
Yes, so we are all listening. So, he said, "Do you want to become a sannyasin?" Which means a renunciant, a monk. I said, "I think yes." Believe me, I am not even now a monk. So, he said, "Oh, just be careful," he said, "think about it. It's good to be a monk, okay, but you know, if you climb 3 steps and fall down from that height, you can still dust your back and escape. But if you climb 50, 20 steps and go to the top, and then by some chance you slip and fall, you'll probably fracture both your legs. You won't be able to get up." So he said, "Don't hurry. Go slow. careful. Understand what it means? Because in spiritual practice, many people get so enthusiastic that they want to practice 2 hours a day and finally they stop practicing. I know good friends. Because there's no time, there's no, and then you say, no, if I don't do it, then it's not worth it and it's gone. So start little, slowly, patience is very, very important. And it's the straight and narrow path. Okay. You don't have to become a monk, that's not what I'm saying. But you have to be careful, you should care for how you live. Spiritual practice is not like, I will live as I like, but I will practice pranayama and be free. Not possible. You should also change your life. And then, if you add a technique to it, then you move. Otherwise, there is no chance of moving. If I say, every day I drink 10 bottles of beer, but I will do my pranayama, it's not possible. I'm not saying in a hot day if you want to have some beer, it's okay, but it's vegetarian anyway. I don't drink. So, what I mean is, there should be no extremes. That's what the Buddha meant when he said the middle path. And in the Gita, Krishna says, this yoga is not for him who eats too much, or eats too little, or sleeps too much, or sleeps too little. There has to be a moderation in life. And then along with that, if you are properly advised by somebody who has experience in these matters, then there is a good chance of moving forward. You have to be patient. There is no other way. Because each individual spiritual journey, the speed may be different. Don't imitate another person. Because you don't know now, but you have come through many past lives. And there are many influences. So what one person, the speed he has, you may not get because of various reasons. So you shouldn't give up in discussion. But carry on. So these are the things that we are going to examine. And the ultimate truth is something which cannot be defined. So a little booklet in the room written by Ms. Annette Kaiser. And I was very interested in one point where it is said that the truth is so indefinable that you can't always, it can't be grasped. In fact, it is when all grasping stops. When you have no more grasping down, then it is there. So, to illustrate this truth that we seek is almost like nothing. When I say nothing, it means no thing. No, it's not a thing. See? And which is why the Buddha called the truth Shunya. Shunya actually in Sanskrit means zero. When my ego becomes zero, then I see that zero, what it is all about. Right? Zero looks without value, but when you add 0 to 1, it is 10. Add more zeros, it's 10,000, 1 lakh. Zero has value, but it appears zero. Zero is how is zero written like this? There is nothing inside. So this is where we move, to touch it. So say if we are moving towards nothing, I have nothing to do. No. That nothing is the essence of everything. In the Upanishads, there is a beautiful story. A great rishi, you know what a rishi is, a great teacher.